Hello and welcome to assignment 13, thinking and speaking visually, preparing a large project. So I've got some more submissions. As you can see, I've had two more since the last time I uploaded a video. I'm going to go ahead and record some feedback for these. I wanted to go over and remind the students that we're making sure that we've got a PSD file, that it's 8.5 by 11, that it's 150 pixels per inch, that you have folders, groups, I should say, groups, comps, roughs, and thumbnails, and that this should say groups. The thumbnails folder, you have 25 and it's on as few layers as possible. For roughs, 4 roughs, and it's on few layers as possible, and 1 comp. So going into that, and everything should be named correctly. I've missed. Let go. All right, going into that, I've mentioned this in the other videos. I've switched over to a trackball mouse, which is much better for my hands. I'm liking that, but it's I'm still getting used to it, so I tend to miss where I'm aiming. All right, we have thumbnails, roughs, and comp. Perfect, perfect, perfect. We have 11 by 8.5 inches, and it's 150 pixels per inch. Perfect. It's even named correctly. Good, good, good. And we've got 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Great. We have 4 roughs. Perfect. And we have 1 comp. Excellent. So all of that is right where it should be. Let me make a note of that so that I don't forget to grade you when all of this is over, and I'll be sitting there going, wait, was everything right? Now I know. It's written down. It's saved. It's perfect. So it looks like we are invited to a birthday party since we've got Happy B-Day. This will be on May 7th. We've celebrating Name Boy Park Time. Celebrate. I kind of like this one. Celebration. Name the place. Cars, B-Day, birthday. So we've got birthdays. It looks like these are sort of stand-ins for different font type things. Not quite sure where this one's going. Looks like a lot of font stuff. I'm more interested actually in the ones that have some iconography in it. I kind of like the idea of a big stacked cake. I think that could be a lot of fun. Oh, there is one thing missing. I did need 5 red circles or squares or what have you around there, something to indicate which of 4 red circles or 4 red squares or whatever around this, indicating what you were doing, so that I could see and tell. So you did forget that one step. Make sure before you submit these to reread the instructions so that you get everything right. And we can see, actually, if I grab my keyboard here, do a quick find for red. Here it is. Once you have your thumbnails in Photoshop, circle your 4 favorite ideas with red pencil tool. It's under the brush tool. So we've got a very big final Photoshop project coming up. That's assignment 15. That's not the same thing as, did I look at this? I had a typo. No one called me on this. I didn't even notice it to now. This should be assignment 13, not 14. Anyway, with the large final project coming up for assignment 15, which is in here somewhere, you'll notice that, oops, that's the wrong thing. That's the extra credit. You'll notice that in assignment 15, the final Photoshop project, which again, there's one more Canvas project after that, I've got all this stuff in bold. That's important. Make sure that you do all of this stuff so that you get all of the points. Like, all of these have to be named the way that I've told them to be named. The number is just a placeholder. It should be whatever version number you have. Make sure that they're in the correct color versions, be they RGB or CMYK. There's a little trick in it at one point where you need to, and it says towards the bottom, what you need to do is convert it from RGB to CMYK and back to get it to do what you need it to do. And a lot of people miss that, and that's the when you're doing the CMYK black and white one, and the black and white and RGB, you actually have to do the black and white RGB first, and then once you've got, before you can do the black and white CMYK, because the desaturation doesn't always work, and depending on the version of Photoshop you're in. So if you're in an older version of Photoshop, Oh, I can't remember if they switched it back in the latest version. So some versions of Photoshop, in order to produce a black and white CMYK, you're going to want to start with the black and white adjustment layer while it's still in RGB mode, then convert it to CMYK. So it says that somewhere in these instructions, and I've said it in the videos. If you have any problems, email me. What I'm getting at is make sure that you double check everything and everything's correct. And if you can't seem to get something to work, contact me. And if you email me, put CMPGR 236 so I know it's you. All right, that said, let's get back to the I'm meandering. Let's get back to the project at hand. Right here, let's take a look at these. So we'll find out which ones you selected by clicking on them. Click. So you are invited to Giovanni's B-Day party at the time, date, and place. Looks like you got a photo and a car, and the whole thing's kind of in a driver's license, which is clever. So you've got kind of a driver's license theme. That's pretty neat. I'm starting to get the from the car, so you're doing it through the car. That's pretty cool. Oh, I kind of like this one. Celebrate, and this is a horizontal poster. Let me turn off the thumbnails so that we can see the whole thing here. Turn off the thumbnails, and let me fill this with white real fast, just so that we've got all that. Okay, celebrate, and out of curiosity. Okay, good. All right. So I kind of like this one. We've got the different types of fonts. You've got, I don't think that I'd put the date, time, place all just in this corner. There wouldn't be anything to balance it out on the other side. So that's something we have to work at. If you've watched the other videos, you know I'm very against having stuff very centered. It's harder to balance out, but we'll get to that if you pick that one. Let's see, we have another one. Let's celebrate, and then we've got some balloons. I don't think there's too much going on in that one. I think that probably the most interesting one so far would be kind of the driver's license idea. That's got some fun stuff. Let's party. You were invited to celebrate Giovanni's birthday. Picture of the birthday boy. Date, times, place. I like this one. This one has some interesting motion to it. You can do things with the text. You can put little houses. If you wanted, you could make it look kind of like a storybook, which depending on the age of the child, that could be useful. If they're an older kid, you could replace it with like photos of toys. If they're even older, you could find screen caps of stuff from video games, you know, put them in. If you're not selling this, you know, it is for personal use, then you can totally do layouts and all that stuff with it, depending on where you're going with images you take out of games. It's one of the nice things about fair use. All right, so let's see which one you selected. And we've got no, I don't think that I'd go with that one. So I'm going to tell you what I tell everybody in all the videos. My word isn't law from above. I'm not some higher power that dictates what you do. That said, I do have some experience in this, and I can give my opinions on it. And in many ways, I'm your client because I'm the person doing the grading. Now, that said, I think it's more important that you do something that interests you than for this final Photoshop project than it is to do something that you think I would like. And the reason for that is that you'll be more invested in something that you enjoy than you would be if I said, oh, I don't like that. Do this instead, even though you hate it. Yeah, don't do that. You're in a nice situation right now where I'm trying to get you to build something that you can put in a portfolio. And I'd rather you put, you know, something you really love into that, you know, something you really enjoy. So if I say things and you disagree with everything I say, that's fine. Don't do what I say. Do what you want. That's fine. Just, you know, try to make the execution as high quality as possible. In other words, put the time into it, think about it, try different things if you need to try different things, ask for help, work things out, check out how other designers and artists have, well, art designers are kind of artists, illustrators, whatever, how they have tackled similar problems, look for inspiration, collect references, that kind of stuff, and work through it. Just put the time in on it, is what I'm saying. That said, I'm going to tell you what I think maybe doesn't work, maybe does work, and what would be better. So don't take anything personally. If I tear everything apart, I've done that, and to students throughout the semesters, it's fine. Do what you want to do for this project. That said, I'm going to tell you how I would probably tackle these things. So hopefully this will be useful to you because I'm going to be talking for another 10 or 20 minutes. So here we go. I like this design. I think that this design is the winner. Let's take a look at the other design. We will be revisiting this later. Now, a few things. Do not use this color combination. And let me show you why. So these are called complementary colors, but it's also problematic because it's red and green, which easily become the same values. So if you have someone who has problems seeing color or has a type of color blindness, it becomes nearly impossible to read. And things just start to disappear immediately. So don't do that. It's really important. When you're working with red and green, be very cautious. Remember, you have different ways of handling things. So if you have a green and you have stuff like 100% saturation and you have 64% brightness, and then you have 100% saturation for the red, and like this is within 40% of the same brightness because it's 160. These aren't going to show up very well. So you'd want to produce something that actually has much different colors and pushing it towards black. But red and green are uniquely difficult in that they, remember when we were going over way back when on the when the class first started, let me grab my tablet pen. When the class first started, I had you all watch Colorful Notions. I'm going to make a new window so that I can move this down here. And in the Colorful Notions video, I grab a brush, flip those colors. Brush, I say. We basically had red and green wavelengths of light, and then we had blue kind of filling in those gaps as to the light that humans could see. Do you remember that there was a massive overlap between those two things? Yeah? I just realized I have this backwards. Hold on. Let me just do this and flip again. There we go. And all right. Is it blue, green, red? All right. So remember, there's this massive overlap between them, which means if you're not using the colors kind of at the edge of those spectrums for the green and the blue, did I do that backwards again? Wait, no, yeah, that's right, because we'd have yellow right in here. Okay, yeah, so that's right. So they've got this overlap, essentially, where our sensors are picking up the same kind of wavelengths for it. So if you're not mixing red and green together, they kind of have similar pickups in our eyes. So that means that you have to be really careful when you put them together. And I don't think that they worked particularly well in this. So I would actually use a different color scheme. I would also not use something with this high of a saturation. It's a little painful to look at, and it's not going to reproduce when you print it in CMYK. So as an example of that, let's go over here, and we'll just real quick do, we'll just do it the rough way. Image mode CMYK, yeah? Flatten that thing, yeah. This is how it actually reproduce. Notice how it looks dull and kind of burned out, except for maybe the blue and the purple. That's problematic. And so what you really want is to have something that's going to look, and you could do things like print it on high gloss to kind of counter that effect. But if you compare these two together, you can see that they're not going to look the same. Don't max out your saturation when you can save it for something more important. So I would actually use a different color process or color scheme, and you could go to Adobe's Cooler, Kuler, and then that's cooler.adobe.com, and that's apparently color.adobe.com will do the same thing now. Sweet. So once you're in this thing, this is super fun. You can pick a color scheme, and then as you do adjustments to the color scheme, it will change everything inside of it. So for example, we have analogous. We could do monochromatic if you wanted to be a little more boring about it. We could do triadic, which is kind of fun. And then as you move these around, it will change the types of colors that are inside each of the swatches. The swatches also have the hex code. Pop those into Photoshop super easily. You have complementary, split complementary, double split complementary, which is actually one I'm not familiar with, but I think that's really pretty. You have square, compound. You have shades of a single color, or you can make a custom one. You can also extract a theme out of a photo. So if we were to pop open, for example, desktop, and grab this candy that I have specifically for these color.adobe.com demos, and drop that in. It will go through and assemble a color palette for you. So you can find a photo that you like, go to color.adobe.com, drop that in, and it will tell you what a color palette is. Now that said, you can adjust it yourself and get different colors out of it. And when you're done, you just kind of go back and extract it. And then, you can sign in and save it too, but I don't want to do that right now. And you get all your colors. So I think that that's really good. I think this is a good place if you're not used to working with color keys or working out color schemes, then that's a great way to cut to it. So that said, I think that these are kind of all over the place. We have red, green, blue, orange, purple. This orange and this red are almost identical. This green is too close to the value of red. This is impossible to read because of the green and the red. You have everything centered right in the middle, which is a bad way of handling the design because now your eye goes straight to this and it stays there. There's nothing weighty enough to pull you away. So I would not do these things. I would start with a different color palette. I'd plan for it. Don't put the text over the photo. You can't see anything there. That's not working very well. I would also never use Comic Sans under any circumstance, not even if my life depended on it. So I'd avoid that as well. So that's just me though. So let's take a look and see, because I really did like your other composition. There we go, cancel. I really did like your other composition. So let's take a look at that one instead and work up from there. So come back to here. So let's just play around with this and give you some ideas. So yeah, if you're going to stick with this one, use completely different colors. Make this photo much bigger. Don't put it right in the middle. If you have these balloons, you can move these balloons around instead to move your eye around. You might want to look up Gestalt psychology, which is the basis for a lot of color and design. Let's see if I can get the spelling right. Gestalt psychology. There we go. So Gestalt psychology is, in a lot of ways, it ends up approaching design for humans in the same way that designers approach it, except they did it through experimentation. Isn't this cool? Doesn't this look like there's a sphere there? Doesn't this look like a triangle? Doesn't this look like it's wrapping around a bar? Doesn't this look like a little Loch Ness monster kind of diving in and out of stuff? That's Gestalt psychology, and that will help you with layout if you want to just kind of read through this a bit, or better yet, pop on down to use and design, and we'll talk about that a lot. You can also, really just like read through these, and we'll talk about laws of similarity, laws of proximity, laws of symmetry, laws of common fate. These are basically just design tips. And if you don't have one that's your go-to, then I would just check out the Gestalt psychology. It's G-E-S-T-A-L-T psychology, and that will go through basically design principles. This is the one that I personally default to a bunch because it has some basic laws. And in fact, if you look at the picture, this book that I recommended for this class on designing, read through it, short book, it's worth the read. You might be able to get it through your library sent to you. I'm not sure how libraries are doing things right now. You can also order it off of Amazon, super cheap. Doesn't matter the edition. It talks about stumbling into these same principles, but the author did it through pieces of paper cutouts and experimenting with those rather than going to psychology tests and books and whatever and going through that. So yeah, the recommended book basically covers the same thing, but you can just hit up this wiki article. That'll do you. All right. So that will tell you basically ways to start positioning. My eyes are starting to hurt for this. I'm going to turn that off. So let's go ahead and do this and see what we can make. So first things first, I'm going to copy this, make a new document, paste this in, and then I'm going to make a, image size, make sure that I've got it where I want it. I want it by 8.5 by 11. Pretty close. Okay, and I've moved Photoshop around. Put that back. All right, so we've got things closer. I'm actually going to pause the video for a few minutes so that I can do some groundwork, and then we can talk about what's going on. I will see you in a minute. Okay, so just real quick, I made a rough. Remember how I said this would be a lot of fun if you made it look like a little kid drew it using this layout? Well, here's what I meant. something like this, where basically you use just rough, blocky lines, wobbly lines, draw it like a kid would be drawing it in crayon, make the little car look like a kid drew it. And I just used a color palette right off of the photo of the child, so all these colors came from the photo of the kid, so things could stick together. I might brighten this up. I don't think that it has enough weight to it, so it doesn't quite balance it out. Or flip these two so that the blue one's up here and the orange one's down there. But you can play around with that kind of thing. I just wanted to show you, I think that the design that you had was stronger than the other design here that you selected. You could add balloons and streamers and stuff, and little birds and clouds and what have you. But I do think that this design that you came up with has a lot more potential. It has a lot more way that you can add elements to it. As compared to this one, I don't think that this is going to go anywhere in particular. I think it would be more fun to build it off of this one. Now, that said, you don't have to use any of these designs or even this project at all as a springboard if you don't want to. You can do something else entirely, and that's absolutely fine. I just wanted to show you your design a little more realized. I feel as though this one has more places it can go than the design that you selected. I think the big thing is absolutely pick a color palette first. I grabbed some swatches right out of the photo so that it was the same palette as the kid. So if you wanted to put the kid in the car or something, he'd fit in exactly just as well as anything else he blended. Okay, so that's my advice. Good luck with everything. Let me know if you have any questions or need any help on that. Don't forget, I also have some extra credit assignments available for everybody who's trying to look at ways to boost grades. So hopefully, if you have any questions, I'll hear from you soon. Otherwise, the site will be updating on Monday with your final project. So make sure to tune in then, and I will see you all then. Until then, I said then a lot. Bye.